when thinking about recovery, when thinking about stability, security, when thinking about changing your attachment style from anxious and avoidant to secure, when thinking about moving out of people-pleasing and finding that strength, that powerfulness that's within you and connecting to that, what we're talking about is creating, and when we're talking about creating a relationship with yourself, where it starts, where the most important piece starts, is there is an inner core of you, of me, of all of us that needs to be developed, needs to be strengthened. It's imagining like you start off as a sapling when you're born, and through nourishment and care and the right conditions, you get to grow the core that becomes the trunk of the tree. And within each of us is the ability to create this inner strength, the core of us that is, no matter what happens in life, that we will bend and not break. But for the majority of us, that's not been the case. We haven't learnt to do that. We haven't been taught to do that. In fact, the things that show up in our lives have been to challenge that inner core, to make it weaker, make it feel completely disconnected from us, rather than strengthening it. And what happens when we strengthen the core is that we develop and strengthen our self-trust, our ability to trust ourselves, our ability to make decisions, to feel more confident and more able to say yes when you want to say yes, and no when you want to say no. And this is so important, to first of all have a connection to your core, to feel into it. When I first started this journey, it must be about 8 years ago now, I would check in with my own inner core, and it was like a wispy sort of you know, when you put out the flame of a candle, and then there's that the I can't remember what it's called, where it comes out at the top. That's what it would feel like for me. It was just nothing I could hold on to. It just felt almost vacant, almost like there was no core there to hold on to, nothing to solidify myself and hold on to. And so when big things happened, I just felt like I was blowing in the wind. I felt very panicked, very anxious a lot of the time. I would look to other people to become that anchor for me. I would outsource that because I didn't know how to do that for myself. And it was a problem. It became a really big problem because I would look at overconfident people to match the lack of confidence that I felt within myself, almost like hoping some of their stuff would fill my own lacking or my own missing connection to my core by being around them. And whilst that had value, and it was certainly something that felt useful and practical at the time, it always went too far. It always went to the point where I would give my power away to these other people because they were stronger, they had more opinions, they knew themselves better, they had ideas and ideas and opinions about what I should do with my life, where I should go, how I should have it. And because I wasn't connected to my core, I would go along with it. It felt definitely like something that was much easier to give to somebody else than, because I had no way of knowing how to connect to it to myself. And how it's supposed to be when it's healthy, I mean, it varies for most people, but if you imagine like a steel rod or a trunk of a tree that goes from the base of you all the way up through the middle. So if you're into chakras, when you talk about those, it ties each one of them together and then comes out of the crown of your head and then goes from 3 feet above your head to 3 feet below you. And the more you establish this, the more you work with your core, the wider it gets, the more stable it gets, the stronger it gets. So now my core feels like it's either side of my shoulders. So no matter what happens, I feel solid. I know that I will bend and things will move, and it will feel like I can move with what life brings me, rather than just feel like I'm about to float away, or feel I'm going to have a panic attack, or feel I'm going to get really anxious and overwhelmed all of the time. So by connecting to my core, I learnt to create stability, security, power for myself. And it's something that I've taught to my son too, to connect in, to trust the inner messages, to trust the inner guidance, to learn to listen to what's coming up for him. Because each time you do, each action you take, each time you take those inner messages as really important information and act on them, the stronger your core gets. And another way that you can work with your core is, one of my favorite ways is using black spruce, the essential oil, and it's just to help support the guidance, the connection to your core. So if you imagine that you put a little bit of black spruce on the crown of your head, and then on the root, either on the back of your, just above your bottom, or just below your belly button, and then close your eyes and imagine a thread weaving down and up and down through the core of you. And each time it does, it gets thicker and stronger and more powerful, more solid. Yeah. And as you're doing that, when you're connecting to the black spruce, when you're allowing the tree essence to help you remember what's always been there, but we're disconnected from it, when it helps you to remember the strength of you, remember who you are, remember that this is something that you can quieten down, relax and release all of the external pressures, the to-do list and all of that for a minute, and go within, do this practice, and you will find that it will start to really significantly create a shift and a difference and an up level in how you're feeling. You can also do this with the 12D shield technique that I use, and you can access that on my New Dawn podcast. And if you do that, I did that every single day, 3 times a day for about 6 years, because it created a boundary around me and it reinforced that core inside of me. So now I just close my eyes and I can feel it. I can feel that connection, and that's what we want to create for ourselves and offer that for our children, because that's the sense of security, that's knowing yourself, that's connecting to yourself. That's powerful, that's life-changing, that's creating something completely different for ourselves that isn't out of victimhood or people-pleasing or feeling weak or feeling unresourceful, or all of those things. What we're going for is creating something solid, something we can depend on, something that no matter what happens, we can trust ourselves. We are there for ourselves, and that matters. You matter. So start connecting to your core. Have a feel into it. Close your eyes. And wherever you're at right now, that's where you should be. That's exactly the right place. You start where you are and you use what you've got. There's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no blame, there's no you should be somewhere else, you should be doing something different, you should be, none of that. We are where we are. We take a big breath. And then we actively work towards creating that core. And if you've got children who you're immediately as a parent going, oh my God, they need this, and I should be doing it for them. Start with you first. Always you first. Start with you, and then you can role model it. Then you can talk about it. Then you can embody it. Then they can watch you and see you. They can understand it so much more just by watching. And they feel it. For those of you who have been through any form of trauma or any form of abuse, anything like that, that sense of insecurity and fear sits in our bodies, and it creates a disconnection to this core part of ourselves. That really strong core, it feels disconnected, and our children feel it. Because they're sensitive, they're sponges, right? So they can imprint off of us by us embodying that first. Okay? So close your eyes, practice feeling the weaving of the black spruce up and down the body, or do a boundary practice every single day, but get it to focus on your core and not just on your boundary, right? It has to be this core part of you. And allow yourself to feel stronger. Allow yourself to imprint off of black spruce, because black spruce already knows how strong it is. It's already a tree. It's already got that essence of security and safety. So you can imprint off of the black spruce and allow that essence into your body. In the meantime, keep acting on the impulses, the intuition and the guidance. Not the reactivity, but the intuition and the inner guidance. Keep acting on that. Keep advocating for yourself. Keep saying yes when you mean yes and no when you mean no. And slowly you will also feel that these activities grow in your core. Okay? All right. Take care. Have a lovely day and keep believing in yourself.